Over to you, Tosheeba.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Good evening and good day for all those who are in different time zones than us.
Hello, everyone.
We have a very interesting session that we're going to conduct, a very interesting topic. And both the authors, obviously very young authors, have done a very interesting work on this new book, a coffee table book called Pakistan, A Fashionable History. The name itself sounds very fashionable. It seems that this is the first ever non-fiction book on the creation of the local fashion industry. The brainchild of Miss Mehr F and Mr. Saad Sheikh. It seems to be a fascinating study of the pioneers of Pakistani fashion who came together to form what today stands as a multi-million-dollar market. I'm sure you will agree with me, our fashion industry has grown to this size. This coffee table book delves into the heart of Pakistan's history, starting from partition. The book documents the journey of the people who sought to dress and adorn a new country, giving the Pakistani nation a multifaceted identity that has remained unexplored till now. Interestingly enough, Husain and Sheikh's book goes beyond the aesthetics by gently uncovering a history, heritage, and culture, and exposing the hidden beauty of a country and its people who have been misunderstood for far too long, and I'm sure this is going to change soon. A little more about our speakers today. Mehr is a British Pakistani journalist based in Lahore, and Saad is again from the field of journalism. He's working as an independent journalist and a photo photographer, and by the way, he's a musician also. With this brief intros, I'm going to move on to our speakers to actually share about themselves, because what they can tell you, it'll take me some more time to be able to explain well. So, Mehr, over to you, and Saad, tell us a little about yourself before you actually start talking about the book. And while you talk about the book, do highlight that what inspired you. How did you get on to talk about the fashion industry and that to compile a book out of it, calling it A Fashionable History of Pakistan? So over to you, Mehr.
Assalamu alaikum, Tosheeba. Thank you for having us on board. Thank you to the Faisalabad Literary Festival for having us on board and giving us this fabulous opportunity to talk about our book. I assure you, we're not, at least I'm not as young as you may assume. So it's all the camera, it's all the makeup that's really hiding reality. I've been part of the Pakistani media for about 13 years. I have been writing in various, I've worked in the media in various roles as features editor at the Friday Times, then as columnist for Mail Today and for India's Mail Today and Britain's Mail Online. I have worked on other book projects as well. I was the editor for Multan, A Spiritual Legacy. It was a book that was later presented to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. I have been published as a short story writer by Oxford University Press and Mongrel Press, and Pakistan, A Fashionable History is my first full-length book. With regards to the title was something that, you see, Tosheeba, fashion as we understand it is considered to be just a three-piece lawn joda or a bridal suit. However, Pakistan's fashion industry has it's a whole history onto its own, and it also reflects Pakistan's historical journey from partition to modern day. Therefore, what we wanted to do was we wanted to blend the two together to put together a social and cultural history of the country. And therefore, that's where the title originated from, Pakistan, A Fashionable History. Saad, would you like to give your input on that title?
Yeah. Hello, and thank you for having me here. I'm very excited because I belong to Lalpur, Faisalabad. So it's quite an honor for me. So thank you for having us here. Yeah, so I am essentially a print journalist. I've been associated with journalism since the last 15 years. And in addition to writing and the editing part, I've also developed myself as a photojournalist, and a lot of serious photography comes in that part. This has, allowed me the wonderful opportunity of traveling all over the country, collaborating with writers, or even, doing my own written work in addition to the photography. I'm also a musician. I play in Pakistan's only all percussion band called Quadrum, and I'm a very keen observer. And I happen to know amazing people like Mehr, for example. And the idea of a book was always, we all dream of having our own book and everything. So I had been after Mehr since a very long time. We should be collaborating on something. I believe in collaborations. I believe in the idea of, partnering with like-minded people and working on issues, working on maybe talking about people that have not been highlighted before. I was personally very fascinated by how the fashion industry came into being, for example. It was something of a personal journey as well that I really wanted to know. I had always thought, the fashion industry as, or the fashion people, as elitist, and, this product is something, for the elite people only. But then I realized how, fabric and, how it all stems from the grassroots levels, how important this is. It is a part of the whole national identity and whatnot. So 3 years ago, we just decided, let's just do a book on the fashion industry. We both realized that, something like this has to be historical. We can't just talk about, it can't be, like a fancy book on the people associated with the industry or the people who created the industry. It has to talk about how we, the journey, the evolution, of the fashion industry in that regard. So what we had in mind like 3 years ago and what it is now, obviously that a lot of things changed on the way. A lot of people in the book changed. We changed. I think we grew along with the book as well. It's been a very interesting journey. My part was obviously, it was more archival, and I'll be honest, I assumed that would be the easy part. We would just call up the designers, and they would just let us have the archives, and we would just decide where to put it in terms of the layout. But I'll get that later in our discussion as to how and why that was very difficult. But I'm really glad that we were able to do this. I'm actually quite surprised something like this was never done before, considering that we have an industry. It is a proper industry after the actual technical industries we have in Pakistan. This is one proper industry. And sadly, we do not have a music industry. If I talk as a musician, it doesn't have that kind of a structure. But the fashion industry is one industry where, from the grassroots level to all the way up, there are people, there are so many livelihoods attached to it, which is what makes it an industry.
Absolutely. I mean, Tosheeba, you ask about where this book started from. Quite honestly, people often expect us to say something spectacular, such as we were having, dinner with Donatella Versace when it came to us. That's not true. It's actually in the most mundane of moments when inspiration strikes. And this is something that I repeatedly tell prospective authors, whether it's a fiction or for nonfiction, that look, all you need to do is you need to sit back and reflect on your own life. You need to look at your daily routine and you'll find inspiration there. This book did not just come about after a world tour or going to fashion shows or whatnot. It actually came about one morning when I was dropping my son off to school and I just had a baby. And of course, anyone who's, had experience with children will know how exhausting it is. And it was one of those mornings when everything goes completely wrong. Everything goes wrong. The house help isn't on time. The driver is missing. Something is wrong. And sitting in my car, I was utterly exhausted. I was covered in baby milk and leftover breakfast remnants and whatnot. My hair was a complete mess. And I looked out, and there was this other fellow mom dropping her child off, and there she was wearing this 3-piece lawn kajora. Ye ji subah 7 baje ki baat ho rahi hai, and 4-5-inch heels. And I just thought, well, she doesn't look very happy. So who is telling this woman to dress like this at such a point? Why are women expected to dress in a certain way to gain acceptance by society? Why should I have to dress according to what the market is telling me? Why can't the market give me what I want to dress? Who is telling me to dress this way? Who are the designers? Where is this coming from? Billboards that was selling these lawn print ads. It just got me thinking that where is this coming from? Is this our culture? Really? Or is there more to it? And of course, Saad's work, whom I've been a great admirer of his work. And often I've been after him, do a book. By the time I reached home, it was just one of those days, with Saad, that happened to message, say, hello, how are you? Kya haal hai? Yaar, koi kaam karte hain. And I thought, chalo, inspiration bhi aa gayi hai, partner bhi mil gaya hai, chalo chalte koi kaam karte hain. और हमें 3 साल लगे थे इस किताब को पे काम करते करते. ये 4था साल है. And people say it's an expensive product, but I have to say that, look, none of this journey has been easy. We've dug out these archives that time has forgotten. We hunted down people who have given us the industry, various industries, whether it's a field of makeup, whether it's a field of photography, whether it's a field of publishing. We found people who were the pioneers, and I'm pleased to say that they've finally been honored through this book. And it gives me great joy to know that they've gone on to inspire so many people, and finally people know who they are.
Okay, Mehr, a quick question here.
Yes.
Since, we're talking about how you got started and how you and Saad had been interacting, and how both of you have been already, been associated with the wonderful world of words. The way I would want to put it is you're already a wow there. So tell me that what are if at all, there were any challenges while you were compiling it? Because this is like a photo album. So, I'm sure with Saad's experience, it was obviously conceived that way, but it's not easy to actually put things together in a summarized form, specifically when you're dealing with the photographs. So, writing could be summarized and compiled together. But
yes,
how
absolutely.
do you cut down a photograph? So
absolutely.
Please share that.
Absolutely. Tosheeba, you hit the nail on the head. None of this was easy. People have looked at the book and they've been blown away by the imagery, by the graphic designing done by Minhaj Ahmed Rafi, and they look at the wonderful archives that Saad managed to dig out, and they've been wowed by it. But, none of it has been easy. This book was not an easy project to do, because on a broader lens, you see, Pakistan suffers from, given all that the country has gone through, given all that the Pakistani nation has had to battle, whether it's local, regional, international, Pakistan has a culture of mistrust. It's very difficult for someone to trust someone else when you approach them saying that, look, I'm doing this book, I'm doing this project, would you like to be part of it? The first answer inevitably is a very naturally brought about resounding no. And to convince people, to reassure them, to let them know that you're working together, you're not working against them. There are so many people part of this book, and it was an exhaustive process because we had to ring everyone, whether they were a designer, whether a photographer, whether a makeup artist, whether a, model, whether a fashion journalist, whether a publisher, whether, a cultural historian. There are over, I think, 20, 30 people who were consulted for the book. Now, to have 20, 30 people on board along every step of the way to ensure that nobody falls out, it's a constant communication. We had to ring them up, we had to email them, we had to stay in touch with them via WhatsApp. Then somebody or the other would forget what the project was about, so we would have to email them again, bring them up again, explain ourselves again, over and over. And there were times when people would forget who we are. So it'd be like, ji, aapse 6 mahine baat hui thi. Haan, aapko hum yaad hain. Do you remember us? Ji, mera naam Mehr hai. Ji, mere 2 bacche hain. Shayad aapko yaad ho. And that's how it was.
This is why it took
But
us 3 years.
that was the written part. 3 years of repeating ourselves over and over again. And that was just the written part. When it came to archives and imagery, I have to give full credit to Saad in his perseverance, because he went to the Karachi Urdu bazaars, he went to the Urdu Lahore bazaars, he, I think, went to libraries, he went to media offices, he went all over Lahore, Karachi and Islamabad in search of archives. Archives की दुखी कहानी है, क्योंकि unfortunately a lot of our historical records have been destroyed either by natural disasters such as the monsoons, or they've not been digitized due to laziness or lack of funds, or they've been destroyed by, you know, lack of preservation, as in वो कागजात जो हैं वो भुरक चुके हैं, वो खत्म हो चुके हैं. So to find these archives was a difficult story, because again, as Saad will elaborate, people do have historical archives, but again, due to the culture of mistrust, they don't want to share them. And when we did come across them with Saad, to be honest, when Saad did come across them, it was like a treasure chest. I mean, there were things that we didn't even know about. And it was like, my God, we can't believe that these things even existed at one point in Pakistan. I mean, Saad, would you like to elaborate on the stuff that you found and how difficult it was, because your process of recording everything with one hand, holding them down in one hand, taking photographs?
Yeah, so like I said, initially I initially assumed, I was very wrong to assume that, that would be the easy part, the visual part, because at least the designers would have their own work documented. But it was interesting, while Mehr was talking to these people, doing their profiles and everything, we would ask them if you could, share some of the amazing work that you've done. And they were like, we don't have any of the older stuff. And I was in fact told many times that, yaar agar aapko kuch milta hai, if you come across any of our work, please share it with us. And I was like, okay, so now it's not just the book that I'm looking for. I have this additional added responsibility where, like someone like Asif Raza, who is the father of commercial photography in Pakistan. I don't know, I'm pretty sure not a lot of people know his name at least. A lot of people, a lot of the models who must have worked with him back in the days, they would obviously know him. He's based in Canada now, but even he was like, Saad, I do not have any of my work. So if you find anything, so it was great, once we were done with the book, once we knew, okay, we've locked these archives for the book. I remember, an entire month just emailing, these photos to all these people, okay, this is your work, this is your work, and it's their work, it's something they've done. So I would like to add that there is no concept of archives here in Pakistan. We do not have those kind of libraries here. Even if we do, they're not publicly accessible. This is very important. आप देखें कि अगर anyone who wants to do this project, he or she should have that kind of access, where they know where to go to in the first place. I mean, to be honest, looking for stuff in Urdu bazaars, in these old bookstores, I was like a very intense chase, like a wild goose hunt where I did not know what I would end up with. And even there, I was met with suspicion. A lot of these hawkers would ask me, why do you want this? Ye to raddi hai. Ye aapne kya karni hai? And then I tried to tell them that, this is not raddi. This is a part of our history. Whatever way you look at it, it is a part of our history. And usme, while I was doing this, it's also very interesting. This time, ye jo sara timeline hai hamari kitab ka, 2017, 18, 19 is when I was collecting most of this stuff. This is when Herald was shutting down, and this is when Newsline was shutting down. We could not make it in time to Herald, but I made it to Newsline, and I'm thankful to the editor, Miss Rehana Hakim, who, gave us the. I spent 7 hours in Newsline's basement in Karachi, going through 1984 to 1996. They had an accounts copy.
Wow.
I was whatever, and this is not just fashion. I realized this is the only opportunity I have. Not that Newsline was shutting down at that time, but I realized that whatever interesting thing I will find, I found a lot of music concerts, that were happening back in the days. For example, Junoon's first concert in the early 90s, there was a little snippet. No one probably knew about Junoon back in the days, but there was this little snippet, on one of the pages, like, what's happening in the city. There was a single column line, and look at what Junoon is now. So, if I feel that if I ever do a book on music, for example, so these archives, they form a very integral part. And also these archives are very exclusive to the book also, because it's all unpublished work which is now in the form of a book. So I never realized this even while collecting the archives, that they would be such an important part of the book. And obviously, as I said, it was great, returning all the work to all the people who had actually created those. I was just a collector in a way. So yeah, it was quite fun.
Okay, tell me one more thing. Two things have popped out of this discussion which I would want to, talk about. One is, well, we knew about,
Yeah.
shows you we are old enough. Second, Mehr, just like as you were mentioning about, your challenging part of getting the
Yes,
first breakthrough or breaking
absolutely.
the ice, let me highlight about Faisalabad Literary Festival. When the idea was
Jesus.
conceived by one of our very dear friends, Sarah Hayat, so the question was how are we going to fund it, and then we went to looking for the support, and the first person that we went to was Mr. Musaddiq Zulkarnain of Interloop, now the chairman of Interloop Limited.
Right.
And amazingly enough, while we were thinking we'll have to have, a series of, rounds to convince him to support Faisalabad Literary Festival, and then eventually make it an annual feature. It just happened within a presentation of about 15-20 minutes that he decided, and he said, oh yeah,
You've
this is
had
something we want to
far
do.
better luck. You've had far better luck. आपको तो 15-20 मिनट लगे, हमें 3 साल लगे थे.
I'm sure I'll agree with you that we were lucky enough. But this also highlights to you that where you should be going next. There are some people around, and Lalpur has this rich heritage where you could get a lot of support coming in. Now, coming to the point, since we're talking about your book, and I should not be just sharing about my experiences, do you have the copy of the book that you want to show here? Or do I do the honors?
Please, by all means, do the honors. Would you believe Saad and I actually don't have a copy, because once it started getting into print, there was so much demand. You got it. Chale, congratulations.
Yep, so, thank you. So this is the book, everybody, that you could get. Now, tell me something. How did you select the fashion designers that you would want to talk to, and what was the response? I know you just mentioned about, some of the challenges, but what were the main facets or features that you want to build in about, and how does the book talk about the Pakistan's fashion, and how would you define it? How does it link with our culture, heritage?
Sure, absolutely. So when we started, when the idea of having a fashion book was conceived, Saad and I sat down and we thought about it. Like, do we look at the crafts being used on our fashion clothing, as in the various forms of embroidery, the dabka ka kaam, the moti ka kaam, shishe ka kaam, gote ka kaam? Do we look at this? Or do we look at the pioneer designers, people who started the industry? Or do we just do a roundup of Pakistan's most popular fashion designers of all time? Now, this required, whichever angle we decided to take, it required a lot of research. And the more we delved into it, the more research we conducted, we realized that, look, this book has to be about the base, the foundation of the industry as it stands today. What is it building upon? And how did this foundation come into being? Because there was zero documentation. Absolutely zero documentation about the historical side of our industry. Now, in order to do that, we had to conduct a lot more research. And this meant that Saad and I both are investigative journalists. So for us, getting out into the field and speaking to people, chahe wo karigar se, chahe wo fashion journalists se, chahe wo cultural historians se, it wasn't a problem. But the people who are featured in the book, they've been featured in two ways, as you'll see. One, there's a section on designers. The designers have been featured via their archives, via their collections. And two, there are the non-designers who have written profiles. Now, there was a reason for this. Once we established who the pioneers of the industry as a whole were, not just as designers, but as non-designers as well, in their capacities as makeup artists, as models, as photographers, as fashion journalists, as fashion magazine publishers, as fashion editors, we realized, okay, how are we going to do this? A designer is represented by what they put out there, right? In terms of their clothing, their collection. So they still get to have a say, and they have an identity in that respect. That, okay, so-and-so designer, for example, Seher Sehgal was known for her screen printing. So the archives in the book show Seher Sehgal's section, which is what her original screen printed designs that took her to London and to Paris and beyond. Then you have people like Maheen Khan, whose cuts are minimalistic, whose cuts are more streamlined towards a simple silhouette. And of course, then you have people like Faiza Sami, Noorjahan Bilgrami, Rizwan Beg, Umar Saeed, Amir Adnan. Every single designer was having a separate aesthetic. And that's how they were communicating their stories and how they used local handicraft on how they were applying their design element to the local handicraft. Now, the non-designers was a bit tricky because we couldn't figure out, well, how does a hairdresser like Tariq Amin tell his story? You can't put in a haircut. You can't put in dyed strands of hair in a book, can you? So how do we do that? That's when the idea came about, like, why don't we let these people talk? Because you see, since 1950, since Sohra Kazmi and Mr. Shroff, a Parsi lady who was making exquisite saris from Karachi for some of the oldest families of Pakistan, these designers were working from within the realms of their homes. So, for example, you have people like Seher Sehgal and Maheen Khan who had a sewing workshop where Maheen Khan used to work as a seamstress and Seher Sehgal helped her design clothes. There was no element of an industry per se. Of course, you had people like Banto Kazmi doing bridals and you had Noorjahan Bilgrami doing block printed designs, but they were not really designers per se until, of course, the entrance of the non-designers with people like Tapu Javeri, the photographer, Priya Altaf, the model, Tariq Amin, the makeup artist, Fifi Haroon, the fashion editor. When these people, the non-designers, came in, they're the ones who said, okay, fine, you've got a joda. How lovely. Let's do something about it that make it access to the masses. To it, you have the designers and the non-designers, and these are people who've been working in fashion in their respective capacities from partition up to the year 2000. That's almost 50 years worth of fashion that we, as I've always said from day one, what I hope will be many other books on fashion by the future generations. And I hope they'll continue to document the evolution of fashion and further fashion designers.
Well, that certainly sounds very interesting, and a lot of hard work has gone into it. Tell me something. How do you see this book contributing to the learning of those who are formally enrolled in fashion education?
Yes, that's an excellent question. I feel that young designers, youngsters who are coming out of fashion school, when you look at their clothing, when you look at their designs, there's very little reflection of what the industry has had on offer in the past. And I genuinely feel that that's just because they're not being taught about the history of it. If you look at our local craft, it has suffered significantly. There are many tankas, many patterns, many techniques that have, I mean, they're extinct now because fashion designers have not been able to tap into them and not, create sustainable means of continuation for them. So there was that element that fashion designers of the future should know where they're coming from. In fashion schools abroad, you were always taught about the history of how particular cuts, particular designs, patterns, motifs, they've come about, and how to utilize craft and how to, more importantly, innovate with it. Pakistan has not seen that kind of innovation in its fashion industry, which is why, sadly, our Pret industry is, I mean, there's Generation, there's Khadi, and what? Nothing else has come about. Our fashion industry solely consists of bridal couture wear today. Why? Because it's a money-making gimmick. Why is there money-making gimmick and there's no other means of earning money? Because people are sick and tired of wearing the same patterns, the same cuts, the same designs over and over again. And that's why Darzi culture has still retained its significance, and there's been very little creativity. So I feel that for fashion students, if they read this book, if they look at the old archives, they'll understand that how the pioneers are still the giants that they are today. And why is it that we see a huge influx of young designers every year and then they burn out? They either have lack of finances caused by lack of sales, and those lack of sales are caused by lack of original innovation and creation. For students of history, look, Tosheeba, Pakistani history is taught either through a strategic lens or a political lens. And I firmly believe that you cannot understand any country, not just Pakistan, but any country, unless you look at its social and cultural history. Our social and cultural history has gone undocumented. That's the tragedy. And whatever archives, whatever history was there, it is right now, even as we speak, it is crumbling to dust. If we don't document our social and cultural history, then I fail to see how Pakistan can understand how Pakistan can understand itself, how future generations will even understand us today as we are. We may think we're very emancipated and progressive, but what is the point of all of it if it's going undocumented? So I feel that this book is not just a fashion book, as people like to refer to it, but it actually is an insight into our social and cultural history. It explains so much. It explains the influences in Pakistan. It explains how the Pakistani mindset has changed through the years, through the decades. I mean, it's very easy for someone to turn around and say, "Haan ji, jang hui thi, wo ji flane aaye the, America aaya tha, Afghanistan aaya tha, India aaya tha, China aaya tha, Iran aaya tha, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya." Well, sure, yes, okay, that's all very well. But you know what? That's just one element of it. Look at the way people, if you want to understand Pakistan, look at the way people are dressing. I'll give you a very small example. I'm now in my late 30s. I've grown up under the shadow of 9/11. I was a student at at school when 9/11 happened. Majority of my past 20 years have been overshadowed by the impact of 9/11, how it affected us, how we were, categorized as, if you're Pakistani, you're a terrorist. If you're Muslim, you're a terrorist. If you're living abroad, you're a terrorist. If you're living in Pakistan, you're a terrorist. And I genuinely feel that our generation in particular, we've been so busy shrugging off these labels, these categories and whatnot, we've forgotten what it meant to be who we are. So now when people ask us, who are you as a nation? Who are you as a Pakistani? There's zero idea. Who are we? We just sit there, we're like, well, Mohsin Hamid, that's who we are, or, Salah Hassan Manto, or whatever it is, that's who we are. But fact of the matter is, we're a lot more than that. We are a nation that was once very progressive. People find it difficult to believe that there used to be casinos in this country. People find it difficult to believe that women used to wear sleeveless. I remember in the 90s walking around Lahore and people wearing sleeveless left, right, and center. It was a norm. Ab wo nahi raha. Now I see young girls wearing abayas. I remember boys used to wear jeans like it was just a normal thing to do. Now I see boys wearing jeans, lekin takhnu se unchi fold hui hoti hain. I mean, these are little elements that really give you a glimpse into how the Pakistani mindset is forming and changing and developing. And so I think that there's a lot that this book has to offer if people look at it from whatever angle they want to look at it. There's a bit of politics, there's a bit of history, culture, music. Music ka bhi, I mean, aajkal ke daur pe you'll see wo Velo sound station. Saad, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
हाँ, वो जो गाना है गागर I mean, I don't think many young people will know that it's an old song. And it's been around for a long time, and what the history behind it is. And in fact, the sequin jacket that he's wearing, that's a modern version of it. But in fact, people were wearing sequins for a long time ago in the 60s and 70s. It's nothing new. I don't understand why people are going gaga over it. This is something that was there in the 60s and 70s. It's just made a comeback.
Yeah, I think also, this book allows, the intention has always been to have that kind, that we are able to somehow link, especially the younger generation, to give them that connection, because I feel there's a disconnect. For example, if we talk about Faisalabad, so any child born in the 2020, what does he know about Lalpur, for example? Is it just Faisalabad that he's being born into? What about the legacy, And, one thing that really fascinates me also when it comes to the industry is how, when we were under a dictatorship in the 80s, when all these interesting people in our book, actually intentionally or unintentionally, the style mafia, people like Tapu Javeri, Tariq Amin, or all these amazing people, they were actually giving birth, to this fashion industry. At the same time, Lalpur lost its name to Faisalabad. It's the same time when, this something so major happened, and we just let it happen, and so we you see there's this massive disconnect. I mean, I have a problem with that, but that's something different. I know that it may not be very relevant here, but that connection we need to have. How have we come here all the way? So then there needs to be this very important link, where we take ownership at least. I mean, even if you look at Faisalabad, if you read the history, there is so much. But I wonder, do people of Faisalabad, do they really know about this? The pre-partition, the entire thing. Do they really know about it? So we need to have those kind of
Exactly.
connections. And again, we need archives for those. We need documentation. We have these old gazetteers, which the English wrote. But where is our history? So that's very important, I think, and that needs to be documented.
Absolutely. And Saad, I'd add one of the reasons why we got the layout was because it had to appeal to the younger generation. I look at our future Pakistanis, the young ones of today, and I see so much potential in them. They're strong, they're creative, and frankly, they want to know about the country. But if you're going to bring out
Yeah,
thaki
and
hui
Meher,
purani kitabein,
exactly, they're the only hope we have if we are to survive as a
yes,
society. So the youth is the only hope we have, and for that, they need to know. I mean, agar aap dekhein, look at the Indus Valley civilization for that matter. It is the oldest civilization in the world, and the kind of things they were doing 5,000-6,000 years ago. I mean, it's amazing, and that is our history. We belong to those people. Unless a lot of people immigrated as well, but essentially the core people that are here, we are, they were the industry, the civilization that we are from essentially, and socially, culturally back, they did a lot. So we need to have those linkages, those connections. It's very important to take ownership, and I think it transcends everything, religion and ethnicity, whatnot. So there's great history, and there's so many stories left. There's so many untold stories that we need to be documenting those as well.
That sounds wonderful, and that sounds like a game plan. Like, I usually what we come across is that just when the discussion is warming up, we have the time constraint being highlighted, and I would want to further discuss it, but I'm sure we'll keep it for some other time. But there are two things that I would want to highlight, and before we conclude today's session, since we know Mehr has to go, but what we need you to do is the end part or the second part of this session is a small presentation by Humaira Fatma from British Council on the digital library, and interestingly enough, they've been kind to offer access to the digital library for the FLF sessions, and there is a process through which you have to go and get the access, and you find the Google form available, and you could go through the registration, and Humaira will explain. On the book side, I would want to say two things. It's commendable effort that both of you have done, and not just for documenting the history or archiving the important information, but also to become a source of encouragement for many others who've been, kind of contemplating that, okay, writing a book, picking up a topic and, becoming popular or becoming, fashionably attractive, or making it to the shelves, bookshelves. So all of it, I'm sure you've paved a road in of encouragement for these. And just summing up about the fashionable history, I would say that it has introduced a way to record Pakistani cultural history, opening up on a dialogue on how significant archival work is for contemporary society, and above all, encourage the youth to be brave and do the experiment with the similar initiatives. So thank you to both of you, Mehr and Saad, and wishing you best for your future endeavors. I am looking at it just as we are in the 7th year of Faisalabad Literary Festival. Soon you will have the 7 editions and complete that 7 rounds. And I'm sure not only on the fashion side, as I can see, there's something being cooked on the music side. Saad seems to have a plan there, and that's wonderful to know. I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to listen to Saad playing for us sometimes now, especially.
Yeah, hopefully, inshallah, in Faisalabad next year at the
I was
FLF.
just about to say, inshallah, next year in for the next FLF, and that too that we host as we have been hosting in the last 6 years, and we've been receiving a lot of requests and comments and feedback from almost everybody that we are missing that auditorium touch and the presence of being there.
Yes.
The virtual presence we all are experiencing. But great, Mehr, I'm sure we'll get more opportunity to discuss further. And Saad, obviously, you don't go off the
Absolutely.
grid because you are in our radar too.
Anytime.
Okay.
And now we
Absolutely,
hand
Tosheeba.
over to,
Thank
you
you.
very much, and we hand over to Humaira, who's going to share with us some details on the digital library from British Council. Humaira, over to you, and we'll be listening to you.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Tosheeba.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was an amazing discussion and
Thank you.
commendable efforts to Mehr and Saad for their work.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I hope everybody is well and staying safe in these uncertain times. There are such weird times we went through in the past 7
Absolutely.
months. And being
Absolutely.
locked down, being staying inside, that was a total mental game. I mean, we have to have some escape. We can't go to the bookshops. Our libraries in
No.
in Karachi and Lahore are also closed because of this situation.
That's right.
But libraries are beyond walls. The British Council library, digital library, allows you to access material from home, from anywhere, wherever you are, as long as you have a good internet connection. And I would like to show you our library, our digital library. You can access from our website, which is library.britishcouncil.pk. And I hope everybody is able to see here. And this is our website. And over here, when you click on the digital library, you will be coming to our digital resource pages. And we have all the tutorials available on how to access a digital library on your devices. Also, it's for members, like if you have to be 18 and above. So if you wish to get it for your children, if you wish to get it for young adults, parents can sign up on their behalf and they can use access. We have ebooks, we have audiobooks, we have magazines from different, of course, we have fashion magazines, we have recipes available, magazines on photography, on very different hobbies if you would like to take them up during these times. Also, we have comics and, Marvel, DC, all these comics are available for you to read, whatever your interests are. And then we have software training tutorials by Who Knew It. If you want to increase your skills. If you want to learn something new, it's all of these are short video tutorials which have certificates as well, and it's all paid for our members. Also, if you wish to listen to music, we have Quello Music, which has concerts, which you can make your own playlist. You can view live concerts as well. And if you wish to enhance your knowledge, or if you are researching, you are studying online, all universities have gone online. So we have academic ebooks available for you. And also we have journals where you can do your research if you are working on your master's or if you're working on your thesis. Your interest depends on whatever you want to watch. We have recreational resources as well as educational resources. So our digital theater is one of the very unique thing, because you can watch an entire stage play just from your favorite seating position or from your seating room. And you can also, if you're an art student or if you're a theater student or you have interest in performing arts, you can actually view all these resources from the digital theater on how actors prepare, how the drama is written, how to go about your preparations for a role. So we've got everything for everyone. Our membership is for a year from the day you sign up. So, for example, if you are signing up today, from 29 November 2020, your membership will be till 29 November 2021. Sorry, it's the 28th, but whenever you wish to sign up. And the payment is online because it's of ease, and it can be in our library, and our resources can be accessed either through phone, either through your tab or desktop or laptop. We have press reader, which is press reader and newspaper. It has over 120 publications from around the world. So if you wish to read newspapers from Europe or from the UK, you can always sign in and make your own collection and your own reading area from press reader app. On ebooks and audiobooks, I would like to take you through our collection. We have fiction as well as non-fiction, and the biggest and what we can say, for me as a reader, it has been an amazing resource to read books which are recently published and which were otherwise I would have to purchase it, but it was available for on our digital library. We have award-winning books, fiction, non-fiction, for children as well as for adults. And you can go through our resource over here. You can read them online. We have books for children. We did a summer readathon in June and July in the summer vacations this year. And we participants, children between the ages of 8 to 11, 9, and also from as young as 5 years on, they were able to read books with their parents' guidance, and they took part in all our summer readathon throughout the month. We have amazing magazines available here for you to browse. And for whatever your interest is, we have The Economist available, Asia and the UK version. And then we have non-fiction books on technology, industry, on self-help, and as well as on business and science, and many more. We have more than 4,000 books available. Our digital stock is updated regularly, so you will be able to find all new books. And then we have children and young adult books available here for you to enjoy some, downtime, interesting time with your family, have the children around, put up the audiobook, and also if you want, you can have the ebook as well, and it will enhance the children to read as well as to match words with the sound. So you can always, Paddington's Day Off is one of our favorite books. We've done a storytelling session as well. And you can go through, we have classics, we have popular fiction available. And for especially this is our adult ebook section. We have award-winning books. We just had the Booker Prize announced on 19th November, and we have a complete Booker bookshelf available of the 2020 nominations. Then we go to education, and who knew it over here, we are able to access from video-based software training. And once let me just sign in and show you how to go about it. Give me a minute. Any questions or any comments, let me know. Also, if you wish to sign up, we have a link shared over here in the comments for you to put in your email address, and we will get back to you for a limited period of time. The British Council Digital Library is offering a discounted membership fee. Just please fill in the form, and the link is open till Sunday, till tomorrow, and we will get back to you. Whoever has signed up, we will get back to you with all the details by Tuesday next week. And also, if you have any comments, there is a membership. Yes, it's a membership registration link, which we have shared in the comments box. The very good people from the FLF team have shared it over there. So you can sign up, please. And once we are over, you've put in your details, your email address, and we will be getting back to you with the discount details and all the information you require for membership. I am
Great.
just
Humaira, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, sure, please do so.
Okay. If somebody is registered and have a membership, is there a limitation on the access, or all the information is available? And do we have to have certain hours of access, or is it free at any time of the day?
It's free at any time of the day. Once you're a member, you can access at any time of the day. And you can check out 3 books and 3 audiobooks, a combination of 3, and you can check them out for a week, and you can always renew them if you haven't finished. So for example, I'm currently reading The Shadow King from the digital library, and I am unable to finish it right now because it's around 200 pages book. And I've renewed it, so it renews back for 3 days further on.
Okay.
And if somebody else is into it, if they want the book to for themselves, so there will be a hold option on the book title below. And
great. It seems like very interesting option, and I'm so sorry that I've been given that task of highlighting. We have run out of our defined stipulated time.
okay.
Is it possible for us that we wrap up in the next 1 minute?
Sure, I'm just giving you how to sign up for a membership. You come on to our website, which is library.britishcouncil.pk, and go on to the join page. And from here, you can scroll down all the way with every information available on our digital membership and how to sign up for the membership. Once you fill these out, you are immediately given email. You're sent an email with all the details regarding payment and how to go about the resources. So thank you, Tosheeba. Thank you, Faisalabad Literature Festival team, for helping me and giving me this opportunity to let you know about the library Beyond Wall, and which is accessible anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Humaira. Thank you, audience. And we will be tuned to be with you tomorrow. Once again, a big thank you to British Council for facilitating us with the books for our audience and highlighting the special offer for accessing the digital library. Thank you, everybody. Allah Hafiz.